Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah ahmaduhu wa asta'inuhu wa astadihi wa astaghfiruhu wa umminu bihi jalla wa ala wa la akfuruhu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Arsalahu bil huda wa dinil haq liyudhhiruhu ala din kullihi walau karihal mushrikun. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and messenger. Allah sent him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth, and this way of life known as Islam will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa tasimu bihablillahi jami'an. Hold on all together by the rope which Allah stretches out for you, and be not divided amongst yourself. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Dear believers, we live in a great and trying time today. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us hope, to give us focus, and give us continuity in this great struggle. And we ask along with that our small dedication that if we can be given the strength to remain in Islam, to remain firm, Quran and Hadith, that we will do with Allah's help all that Allah give us the strength to do. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. The best translation that I have found for that is, wal asr is by the gift of time, as it has unfolded itself through the ages, recording man's successes and failures, surely man is in a state of loss, except those who believe and do good and join together in the mutual teachings of truth, patience, and constancy. The time in which we live, we didn't have a great choice about that. We didn't choose our parents. We didn't choose the racial makeup, nor tribal affinity. But, as it says, by the gift of time, as it has unfolded itself through the ages, recording man's successes and failures, surely man is in a state of loss except those who believe and do good and join together in the mutual teachings of truth, patience, and constancy. And I remember some of our old articles from As-Sabiqun, mission and movement. You know that as we evolve in Islam, we begin to see it as a mission and a movement, and what part we're going to play in that. And we remember some of our just brief lectures on the subject. Leaderless resistance. Leaderless resistance. That comes out of the concept of, in the West, if we develop any leadership, that leadership's not going to last for long, usually, right? They're going to go to prison, they're going to get killed, they're going to get a flat tire and a car roll over and roll down the hill. That type of thing. So we have a mixed bag, and leaderless resistance is a concept that there is a leader that exists in this so-called movement, whatever it is, that they give certain hints and guidelines, but they're not named as this is the leader, so they can go and get rid of that person. We use a little bit of we're a multifaceted movement. So in this leaderless resistance, we also combine many other aspects. And if we will look at a lot of our, these are old writings from As-Sabiqun, and this is strategy, you know, that, now don't worry, boss man don't believe that Negroes have the stability, the patience to conceive of broad ideas. He feel like if you send a pretty girl down the road, the Negro would be distracted. Just because boss man is 98% of the time correct, don't mean he 100. All he got to do is miss one time, and this is the time he missed. Okay? So, strategy is having a picture of the future that you want to live in. It's like having a picture of life. How many children do I want to have? You're sitting at the table and, you know, what type of house do I want to have and live in ultimately? What type of environment do I want to live in? What type of people do I want to be associated with? All that is visionary, and eventually you can combine all of those type of things in what's called strategy. Now, I guess this is 2008, this is a while ago. These are old As-Sabiqun. Strategic management under conditions of repression. So it's strategic management, but it's under times of continuous confrontation with the enemy, continuous harassment, right? And you having a vision of what your part or your group will play. And we have some of our writings that we say standing for truth may mean standing alone. Well, this is some of our old writings. It means, and that's true. If you're you study your environment, and you make a study, and you come to a conclusion that if we're gonna stand for truth, right, we may be standing by ourselves. And that's all right if you're ready for it. But that takes special kind of people, because the average human being, until they really mature, so especially when they're young and junior high school and on through that, they don't really form good character, their character, till they get much older. So during those periods when we're associated, or the ability to be led or misled is very prominent. In grade school, the most popular guys are the biggest mess-ups, right? The best football players, which I want to be, while they're technically historical, scientific, engineering dummies. They don't know nothing about that, right? So let me imitate that, and therefore we'll grow up with a whole generation of scientific dummies, right? Because all of our heroes were great football players. Boy, they could run in a hot minute. But they were technical. They couldn't build nothing. They were technical dummies, and they did it mainly for themselves. You remember this opens up with وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. Hold on all together by the rope which Allah stretches out for you, and be not divided amongst yourselves, right? So, وَاعْتَصِمُوا, the word asma in Arabic comes from the old word that meant secure. The capital city used to be called Asma, and a fortification. Why? Because it was secure and it was surrounded. So this ayat means fortify and secure your Islam all together, right? Jami'an, right? By this unity, by this structure and this organization. And you know all of our favorite وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. By the time, or by the gift of time, as it has unfolded itself through the ages, recording man's successes and failures, surely man is in a state of loss, except those who do good and join together in the mutual teachings of truth, patience, and constancy. So this teaching of truth is why we have always presented certain articles on strategy, because strategy or strategic, we have to go a step further. Strategic management under conditions of repression. It's different just having a group, movement, or an organization. How do you act when you're under 24-hour surveillance? Your whole movement historically have been subverted, misdirected, and your leaders have basically been killed. And when you know that, you have to have some serious method of how you're going to work. Strategic management under conditions of repression. And then while us, by the time, or the token of time, or the gift of time. Of course, if you think about it, our greatest gift is time. And your greatest loss will be when you pass away, right? And in one rendition of hadith, there was one man, he was passing away, and he kept looking at a pillow that he had. And so after he died, Umar went and he looked behind that pillow. And that was a big bag full of money or gold. And Umar was very sad because at his time of death, his mind was on something that where he's going was not going to do him no good, right? And Imam Ghazali is a proof as an explanation. They asked him, "O great scholar, what things should we possess?" He said, "That which you don't lose in the event of shipwreck." What is that? Suppose, you know, they don't have as many as they used to, but imagine them old rickety sailboats back thousands of years ago. If a strong wind came, it was all over for the crew and you too, right? So in those days, shipwrecks were very common. Last shipwreck I remember on the news was the Andrea Doria in 1956, but they even had some since. But it's way after the Titanic and all that. Why? Because ships are so well built now, right? But if the ship go down, what you gonna save? Suppose you got a big bag of gold tied around you and it's weighing you down, right? Or you got silver bracelets all on this side of your body. Well, what are you gonna do? You're gonna cut that loop with that gold and let it go, because what thing should I possess? That thing that you don't lose in the event of shipwreck. You should possess yourself, right? Be in possession of yourself. And now we have to be very cautious during the time in which we live, because our goals is, our goals and our hopes and our dreams and our aspirations might be a little bit different from other people in our environment. As Muslims, we didn't immigrate here, right? And we've been here all along. The only people who was here when we got here was the red man. And you see how he was treated. And he wouldn't work too hard, so they went and got us and brought us here and put us on the plantation, right? But we have been here constantly for all those centuries and all those decades. So when we think about while us, or by the time, or by the gift of time, as it has unfolded, as history records itself now. You're listening to history on the radio right now, and it says this has happened in this country, that country, and you can hear that the United States is in a steep decline. Not only is it in a decline, but it's running around grabbing the people who are on their job, grabbing the Chinamen, starting trouble with them, running up next to Russia, talking crazy to them, right? And then Iran and everybody else in the world, right? The United States starting trouble with everybody. And what he's doing is what he's already done. He done sanctioned everybody, so he done forced everybody up to today to establish independent currencies outside of the U.S. Now, when a system is going down, a lot of the mistakes it makes, they forecast its future decline, and it's continuity, it's continuous with that. The worst thing the United States could do right now is get people off the dollar or stop saving the dollar. When I used to travel wherever I lived, everybody saved the US dollar, right? That was the most famous currency in the world. But in recent years, the US has sanctioned everybody. If you're not on the dollar thing, you can't do no business with us. Well, that's fine for everybody else that want to do right for themselves. But I want you to think about how crooked and how rotten the United States government and its leaders are. They make an estimate every year. Example. Pablo Escobar and them over 20-something years ago, they told the United States government, they told the Colombian government, if you refuse to sign an extradition treaty with the United States government, we will pay off, this is the dope dealers, we will pay off Colombia's foreign debt. You know how much money they owe? $4.5 billion. They have that money cash, they got it stacked on big good, right? That ain't nothing for them because they've been sending shiploads. You know, when we used to we'd smuggle it by the kilo. A couple of keys here, a couple of keys there. But they got it for the last decades, is where they have it by the boatload, like 500 kilos, 1,000 keys, 2,000 kilos. Now, about that money, they turn that money over here in the United States. They make that money and they take it back to South America. Spend it anywhere. The American government estimates how much money is turning over in the United States, how much money is going overseas, right? Why? Because everybody down there and over there saved their money in US dollars. Now, I want you to try to understand that. They know that money is going out, so they signal the Treasury, well, if Colombia got $4.5 billion, they're going to give somebody not to do such and such. So we estimate they're hooking up $10 billion per year. Right? Now, the Treasury, right over across the street, U.S. Treasury, estimates how much money is down there and over there, and this happening all over the world, right? I don't care whether you're in Africa and Asia, South America, everybody saved their money in dollars. But now some in euros, you know, some in other currency. And then they print that money. So they said they were going to give $4.5 billion. Okay, well, we're going to print $10 billion. Because they're going to take that money and it's going over there, which is true. But now I want you to imagine next year, in a few months, when everybody in Africa, everybody in Europe, everybody in Asia that's got US dollars, right? Go and try to cash them in when the national currency or the global currency change to what they call a bundle of currencies. That means whether it's the yuan and others, other countries are being forced because they have been put on sanctions, all of them, right? So they have to have what they call a bundle of currencies when they do business. See, all the people over the world now, they're not just locking their money in US dollars. They have a bundle of currencies. It may be the yuan, it may be some rubles in there, it may be, they call it a basket of currencies. That's what they call it now. The foreign minister of Iran called it, in the latest lecture, called it a basket of currencies. All those currencies they can deal in. What happens in a few months, which is headed that way? The United States currency hits rock bottom. Or everybody overseas panic and they start turning in those $50 and $100 bills, and they want what that represents. And the U.S. can't produce it. Well, what does that mean to you and I here? We're not overseas, but the inflation will be so heavy that you have to get ready for rebellion. Like the people in Europe, they don't know it. But guess what? You got to remember, you living with boss man, and boss man don't think about nobody else. I'll get back to this point. So what boss man has said is, okay, you Europeans, I want y'all to cut your gas that you're getting from Russia. I want you to cut it right now. No more gas. Now, Europe, you know, that's up that way. And it gets cold in Europe. They say this year is going to be cold. Okay. Now, if you got a deal in rubles to get yourself warm, why? People over there going to be freezing to death. And we say, here's all you do. Don't be arguing with the United States. I say, you take all your publicity, and right in the middle of December, when it's the coldest, I say, you flood the market with pictures while you sitting in your living room, teeth chattering and freezing to death. And if you do have heat, it costs you $1 billion, whatever currency it is, to keep just from freezing to death. I don't know if you've been into Europe in the winter, good God Almighty. And the farther north you get, the colder it gets, right? And Russia done cut off the heat. So that means you got to pay 10 times the heat. I want you to understand what this is doing and going to do to the average citizen who's already striking because of rail prices, because of everything. They're already on strike, right? Okay, I want you to think when these slick Chinese and Russians start putting in all they print, nice-looking white women laying out on the beach in 100-degree weather while they freezing. Right? See, they won't listen. They have to learn how to listen to the Negro. That's what we say they should do. Don't argue with boss man no more. Don't do nothing to him. You just pull back. You got this winter coming. Knock him over this winter. You're not already whooping him bad, but here's all you do. Get your crank and press rolling, and your flyer delivers, and you'll be out in front of every place, passing out flyers at every subway station. In Europe, in December, with pictures of white Americans laying on the beach. In the United States, while they're freezing to death in Europe, and the Europeans didn't want to go to war in America. Now, this is what boss man think of you. Look at him and his girls, boy, they laid out scanty clothes, boy, look at them palm trees. And see, for Europeans, palm trees remind them of heaven. I don't know why. They just All you gotta do is say it's palm trees there, they ready to roll, they like that. You show them palm trees in LA, down in the desert, and them people laying out there almost nude and naked, and they having a $50 zillion, or whatever they're paying is, gas bill. This is the type of warfare, see. When we talk to people, this is what we tell them. Y'all waste your time, Bob. We tell them if they want to send a poor old lady from California out there, Miss Pelosi, so let her go. Don't start shooting and acting a fool. Just lay back. So you listen to the Negro, if he been fighting boss man all this time and still alive, just think about it, they're still alive and laughing and talking. It ain't absolutely crazy, because the boss man, he'll fix your stuff up so you'll be either leaving or want to leave. Now suppose you just stick here with him. But you stick here with him, you're able to tell everybody else, now this is how you deal with it. All they got to do is get used to it. The others, I know we don't have no influence on nobody, but they say Iranians be listening to us, Hezbollah be listening to us, because they have people in meetings that I remember it's been decades ago. Walk in, and the whole guards sitting there from Hezbollah, and they look up, the guards, and they smile, yeah, that's homeboy there. They look at each other like there's homeboy there. Now, when we was over at the other place, they sent us a letter with, I don't know if anybody remember that, with the Hezbollah logo. I told them, I said, I like y'all, but I'm in the United States. You don't have to write us no letter telling how well we cooperate and how much we like each other. I said, just wait till I come for a conference, just do it like that. Because they was actually sending them. In fact, I read a couple over on the 8th Street. Had showed everybody, like right there, Jum'ah. This is from Hezbollah. I said, I hope they don't do this no more. But I mean, you just think about it. Good God Almighty. And then when we come back, the white folks take my phone, and they be taking all the pictures. And then they see all the cards you have. The Imam from Russia, and the Imam from, you didn't know they had a lot of Muslims in Russia, and even in Ukraine and all of that. And they be, one day I was there, it was the Ukrainian lady, was working, had just come here. She was working as a, border guard, whatever they call it, people, customs. And so the ones in English, the handouts in English was the same color as the ones in Russian. And I got a stack of the handout. When you have a big program and they have handouts for the speeches, lectures, so I got all the ones they was there in red, but the ones in red was also in English, but they was in Russian. And the Ukrainian lady was on the border guard here, and they speak Russian too. She said, those are in Russian. I said, tell you the truth, I didn't even know they was all the same color, so I just put them there. But I'm telling you, they got to clicking, and then they would take my phone from me sometime while they were searching me. And when they take it, it'd have 2%, because you've been overseas. Then I come back and plug it in, it says 74%. That means they looked at everything on the phone. So, of course, we know they're going to do that, right? Of course they're going to do that. So, boy, remember the little story I was telling y'all about Hansel and Gretel? Y'all got to read nursery rhymes, you get a lot from them. Hansel and Gretel, to make sure they didn't get lost, it's a Danish thing. They dropped little crumbs along the way, right? And so when they wanted to get back to where they just followed the crumbs. That's Hansel and Gretel. Now, if you want to whoop boss man, you whoop him with stuff he don't expect. Right? That's why we love the old Negro. He used to laugh at the Negro. Oh, tar baby. You know, and all that stuff. Right? You have to use what Allah gives you. He don't, let me put it this way. And I move toward a close because I don't want y'all to be here all day. But they have the mentality that we grew up in. The firm black nationalist militant. So at that time I was right in my 20s, teens and 20, early 20s, so we all militant. But I noticed that the biggest game did not come from our era. I used to sit and listen to my father. He was born in 1900, and all his friends was his age. And they used to talk about, see, their favorite champion was Jack Johnson. Not Muhammad Ali. We was all down with Muhammad Ali. But Jack Johnson, that's all they talked about. Jack Johnson, guy after the fight went down and told the white folks, give me some coffee black as Jack Johnson and some eggs beat up like Jim Jefferson. They hung the brother. I mean, you know, he still got the point across. The great white hope. Now, they had a mentality. How did they get by, still maintain their character, right? With what they did, with what they was dealing with. We couldn't understand that. And I studied that. So I combinated everything. I used what I learned from them. I used our black nationalism from our era. And then I combined it with Islam. Boy, that's a wonderful combination. That's why we're still here right now. It ain't going nowhere, you know, till the curtain falls. Yeah, I'm just trying to tell you, you have to use what Allah give you. That's why we're still here. We've been here, I don't know, centuries, almost seemed like it. Long time. Every trick in the book. I don't care what happens. If we go over to an immigrant program, brothers have been, and we go over, we just want to be friendly. And like we have food down there, well, we may not have another day, don't worry, we'll be back next week. And we serving good food, big old chunks of chicken and all kind of rice they like with their flavor. And their picture of Negroes is they're always begging. They never giving nothing. And here we are with long tables full of delicious food, and we're giving it away. And actually won't accept no donation. They said, good God Almighty. Then they sent an Indo-Pakistani man to say, please let me help. So he could stand in front of our hate, take on halal joint. He could stand in front of the table, right? Think about it. And all the Indo-Pakistanis, just right in Baltimore, will think that we working for him. What else they gonna think? They know one thing, ain't no Negroes gonna give away no food. That big chunks and that well prepared, right? And it's a favor they like. They'll even steal your food, they'll do everything, right? But I want to tell you that service to humanity is the greatest feeling. If we go out with boxes and collect a lot of money, that feels pretty good. But when we go out and give, actually the brothers, and just give food away, that feels twice as good, no matter how much. Well, I'm telling you what I feel like. They may feel like the more money, the better. But I'm just telling you how I feel. The more we give away, the better it feels. That's why the hadith said the upper hand is better than the lower. I know you might see this stuff as that we Muslims are not going to win because of Palestine and all that. We say, ain't no way we not going to win. There ain't no way we not going to win. Well, I done promised that. Just say La ilaha illallah and what? Hold fast. Isn't that right? That's what the hadith say. Hold fast. Okay, now, the other thing is peer group pressure. Don't worry about what other people say or think about what you're doing. If we did that, we wouldn't be nowhere. And if you're right, I know we got some stuff here from a long time ago about the wars in Iraq and what we're going to do. Let me see if I got one. But anyway, we've been predicting what's been going on here in America and around the world all the time. We are not from the Negro movement that feels sad because we're not invited to be the main spokesman on their platform and on their show, right? We was on their circuit for years, but when they pull the plug, you pull the plug, right? A lot of people are addicted to other people's popularity, and they sell what Allah gives them, their birthright, for a miserable price, small price, right? That's the difference between us and the so-called Negro community. Responsible Islamic, leadership in the era of evolution and revolution. So this is an old article about 2011, but it's still up to date. Responsible leadership in this era. When everybody is hiding, we come out, right? Responsible leadership in the era of evolution and revolution. That's what we're having right now at the same time. Evolution is something that usually moves a little slow, and it takes its generation, transgenerational. Revolution is usually an uprising or a change that happens kind of quickly. Maybe historically it's been building up for that, right, for a long time. But when you see it, it happens quickly. We expect that to happen soon. But we're going to stick with a process. Well, I read it last week. Not only strategic management under repression, but management style of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I'll give you a few hints on that and then we'll close. Number one, don't lose your faith in humanity or your people or the ones you're working with. Because according to scriptures, they're going to drag you to the line all the way. They're going to take you all the way up. When you get ready to step over the line, you're going to be on your last breath. Boy, the Negro is serious. You know. So never lose hope of Allah's soothing mercy. Go see about Joseph and his brothers. Go see about the Negro who was brought over here now, and I'm going to move toward a close, but you got to remember, when you think of the condition of the people, then you can understand better. Everybody come here, they bring their root and their language with them, but we cut at the root, right? Cut at the top. You couldn't read and write. They cut you off from your history. Everybody else, they come here, Italian, you see restaurante. right, or whatever. See, I Italian flag. I don't care, Greek, everything. They can speak Greek. How many of y'all speak Negro talk from back the way? The only thing any of us remembered was, and we didn't know what it was, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a nigga by the toe. If he holler, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You know what that is? That's West African counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that right? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. That's the only thing we didn't bring nothing with us. Why? We was cut off at the root from our history. What would you expect us to do? You don't have no knowledge of family life and structure, and you come out of a period of slavery. What is that period of slavery? That period of slavery is, well, why did Negro act so funny with children? Well, suppose you're a male, and any attachment that you have with your wife at that time, from jumping the broom, or your children, the master can load them on a wagon and sell them anytime. Isn't that right? Ain't nothing you can do about it. So guess what you're going to do? You're going to get a little detachment. They ain't studied Negroes enough. Why the Negroes running around acting a fool? The white man, it's him. You blame it all on the white man. That makes you feel better. But it's true. I'm telling you. Think about it. There's your wife. There's your children. There's the power structure. They can sell your family and you can't do nothing about it, right? So what kind of mechanism, protective mechanism, you gonna do for yourself? Develop. Not to get too associated. Not to get too close until after slavery. I tell you, in 1936, they said 76% of African Americans was all married, more than white folks. And even in 1970, it was still like 70% married households, right? But that holdover from slavery, right, where I can't get too, this is not a psychological, you read this to yourself. This is a feeling. What if I get attached to my children? You know, a boss man can come by and sell them, which he probably will. You know, better. And the children, they're getting big now. They can work. I can sell them. They can big money, right? And you can't do nothing about it. You're a slave, right? Okay, so if you wonder why Negroes, as soon as they get 2, 3 children, he pick up and run off. Yeah, like a lot of Negroes do now. You can't blame everything on lazy old Negro males. That's part that's true now, don't get me wrong. But why you don't get attached to family? Because it's bred into you. Anytime, they may come take them away. You don't know. Or even nowadays, they can take me away. They definitely can take me. I'm headed to the penitentiary next week, automatically. I don't care what I do, right? Even if I have a master's PhD degree, I can put it on my wall in the cell house, right? So it's a defense mechanism, right? Cut off at the top. Cut off the extra knowledge coming in. You gotta study why we act the way. No new knowledge coming in, right? No historical knowledge. That's why they could tell us as kids, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a nigga by the toe. We didn't know they was counting. We had no idea that that's West African style of counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. No idea, none whatsoever. And then, suppose you was lost, gonna get lost and way out in some, man, he get lost in Timbuktu. the greatest seat of knowledge and people for our people. Isn't that right? And that in those days meant lost. Timbuktu. So you'd never read up on it, never study up on it. So we give the Negro a medal of honor of surviving and only being 87% crazy, not 100%. Because white folks would be 300% crazy. You ever see white folks when they have a little tragedy? Oh, God! They jumping off bridges. If niggas jumped off bridges for being treated bad, they'd have to have a, good God Almighty, it wouldn't be no water under it. It'd just be stacked up with Negroes. They wouldn't have to build no bridge. They just throw a big thing across the Negroes, right? If we felt bad about the things that run other people crazy. Oh, they took my children away. Oh, they shot my uncle. Oh, you ought to hear Euros on the radio. They be sad. We're not saying it ain't nothing, because it is something. But in comparison, tell the truth. You said, boy, white folks be really upset and sad. I'm not saying they should be treated like us, but they should understand, do research. Why? And you should too. Why? There's the Negroes right here. We can stand right there and watch. Right there at the window, at a Negro. If the white man comes, they take all their guns and throw them in the bushes over there. Anybody remember those days? They throw their guns in the bushes. The Negro come by, they blow his brains out. By the way, I'm not going to change the subject, but I had an experience right here a few months ago. There was a car all shot up right out there. And I was walking right by the time I got to the mailbox in the corner. I mean, no time to move, no time, you know, if it would have been after me, I'd have been a goner. That's the way it is. It was after a guy, I took pictures of, there was 7, 8, 10 bullet holes in the car there. But I didn't see nothing, so nobody listening to this think I saw. I didn't see nothing. Let me repeat that. Only thing I saw was a black hand with one of them blue gloves, the blue plastic gloves. I couldn't tell what was in the hand. See fingerprint and nothing. I don't know nothing. But one thing I thought about, so boy, you better just keep on doing like you want to do. Because ain't no sense of being scared. Because if you get a hit on you, you ain't gonna have time to remember or hurt or nothing. You're just gonna be one dead brother. Because this, I mean, I'm telling you, I just walked around. Right there. I went to the mailbox right there. And then it was right there. I mean, you ain't even got time to duck. So, should it make you scared? No, indeed. I said, boy, I'm gonna get busy because I may be leaving here soon. And what does it say? You're gonna get a book of deeds, right? Some gonna get their book in their right hand, isn't that right? Some gonna get it in their left and it might be way back here. Okay, now, I'm gonna move toward a close, but we don't have charge of a lot of things. But in this ayat that I started with, well, us, by the gift of time, as it has unfolded through the ages, recording man's successes and failures. So we have time to think, and to plan, and to organize, right? And the first thing is your niyyah. What do they say in the West about intention? The road to hell is paved with what? Everybody remember that? Good intention. They're trying to cut you off at the road. Why would they call it something stupid like that? The road to hell is paved. For them, it probably is, because they ain't got no good intentions. But if you got good intentions, your intentions form the way you're going to head. Isn't that right? It helps you form your goals and methods. What I'm saying, to you and I, dear believer, we're on a roll right now, and there might be a handful of people here, but we're not swallowing that soup that they passing out at the other centers around town. No, sirree. We're not swallowing it. We're not going for it. We don't read about it. We don't, and there's nowhere. Then they got some of these tough Negroes, oh boy, with the short pants. Now, one of them I met out there when he first came here. I said, well, that's nice meeting you. And he turned his head. He wouldn't shake me. I said, oh, no problem. And then the hadith say, the Quran actually, it tells you to give in charity. But the hadith says, even a smile, right? A good attitude, right, is a charity. And these Negroes never saw that hadith. Why? You ever see them? They roll their eyes at you like, I don't know for what reason. It ain't no eye rolling stuff I read about in the Quran hadith, but I know what it means. They roll their eyes and puff up. And the hadith, this is the early hadith, folks. But the hadith tell you, if you can't give me no money, smile at me. Isn't that what it said? Everybody remember the hadith? If you can't give your brother or sister no money, smile at them. That's good, right? If you so poor you can't help nobody with physical, just smile at them. They give you the opposite. The hadith they read say, I remember what they said, I ain't gonna go through it. If you around people like such and such, which is us of course, then, you know, they headed the other way. Well, in closing, I would like to say that we're a part of a crew. وَأَتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. Hold on all together by the rope which Allah stretches out for you, and be not divided amongst yourselves. Now, we may miss a lot. We don't miss that one. You know what I'm saying? And the last thing, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. One of the great scholars, he wrote that, now, he heard an ice seller in the market saying, please come by my capital because it's melting away. Now, if you live in a city like Tehran, there's mountains right up there, but it gets real hot, you know, especially about now. And you could go up the mountain and, you know, with a wagon and straw and stuff, you could pack snow, you know, at certain parts of the year and take it down the hill. And a lot of people, that's how they made a living. And one of the scholars, when they heard this wal-as, he said this wal-as الإنسان لا في خسر الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Okay. He's saying that this capital, your time, is melting away. Right? Your life is, I don't care how you look at it, it's easing away. So do good deeds. Look, they can say what they want, but we know what we've done here. We've been on the forefront of everything and right there with everybody, and we've been down with the rescue of Muslims. We have not been for the oppression of any Muslim or technically any human beings, right? And we use our talks to spread those ideas and spread unity and harmony. And we know that we have to be doing the right thing, because if you were here regularly, you would see what happens all the time. This disappears, that disappears, this all, that's fine, no problem. There's some disappeared today, our speaker, I guess, no big deal. It ain't no big deal. Why? Because the road to paradise is paved by good intentions. The cracker, those people say the road to hell. They're trying to cut you off before you even think about doing good, before you even want to do good. They don't want you to have no good intention. They say the road to hell is paved by good intention. People meant to do good. That's not, if you meant to do good, you got a chance of doing no good. They don't say the road to hell is paved by double cross and lies and fitness and foolishness, right? So they saying that's basically all right. But don't even think about doing good. That's how these mean old people trying to ruin our life. Cut off at the root. Cut off at the top. Couldn't read and write for decades. And transplant it over here. Good God Almighty. And I'll close with this. It reminds me of a beautiful bonsai tree in a Japanese garden. I saw that. I said, that's the prettiest tree I've ever seen. He said, yeah, it's 100 years old. He said, my grandfather planted that tree. He said, he planted it, and then the rest of my family would transplant it. And every now and then, we would clip it at the root so it don't get too big. Clip it at the top so it fills out right. And transplant it. So now this has been going on for 100 years in California. So what about you? If you're cut off at the root, when you was coming up, what was the dark continent over there? Ain't but people grass skirts, right? They never told you. I was a Muslim before I knew. I thought Timbuktu was a place to get lost. Not a great university, not the first college in Africa, right? Islamic college, because they got hold to our mind. And when you thought about Timbuktu, you was lost somewhere. And when you thought about Africa, you thought about people running around, remember the people on Tarzan, with grass skirts on. You got to think now, and I close. If the white lady, Jane, fell in the water, Tarzan would jump in that water with his knife and cut that alligator to pieces, isn't that right? And whoop his behind. Do you remember from them high cliffs and people falling in the water, what happened to you? Anybody jump in and save you? Absolutely not. Anybody whoop the alligator? All they had was you carrying a burden for you know who, and you fall in the water and start hollering. Isn't that right? That's the way they wanted us to react. And that's the way they want us to accept life. If it's Johnny Wise Miller, he got a right and a responsibility to save old Jane. That girl got saved about 500-600 times. Okay. And you were in a cast of thousands. Remember we would say on the movie years ago, cast of thousands, 1,000 faces. You were just out there, your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations didn't mean nothing. You just sat there, you just filler for the white folks to stars and everything, right? And that's where you placed. In closing, we're not going to allow other people to place us somewhere in their script, right? Well, us, by the gift of time, that means we're going to write our own script. We're not letting nobody put us in, because our self-esteem, how we see, how we weigh, how we measure ourselves, right, is in our hands. And if all the other people want to stay here, and I'll close with this, they can stay here in the Masjid, in the old folks' home, or wherever they want to. We're not going there with them. Because we know when you feed somebody, it makes you feel good. You feel better. You do? Yeah. It feels better than if you go and get some money from somebody and raise it and buy more food with it, but it feels better. And they asked Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do you want to be a servant prophet or king prophet? Like, you know, Dawood, Suleiman, they was king prophets. What do you think Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam chose? I want to be a servant prophet. Isn't that right? Anybody remember the hadith? I want to be a servant prophet. Now, it's like asking, what kind of Negro you want to be? I want to be a servant Negro. And I'll close, this is important. You don't have all the pictures, I'll bring them later. I got a chance to have all the money, way more money than a collection of Negroes will ever have. The biggest Negro in the region, ain't no doubt about it. And it wasn't no fun, I'm just telling you, it's pitiful. With all them pretty cars, all them tenders and all of that, it wasn't no fun. I can remember in 1970, I had one good day. It had to have been something, because you can remember, that whole year you had one day. You had all the money, all the businesses, everything. I'm just trying to tell you. But this, what's going on now, never a dull moment, never a sad moment, always inspirational. And remember, what Allah told the prophets, go and see about Joseph and his brothers, right? Not yourself. You're already rested, so-and-so. You don't have to worry about yourself. I'm just trying to tell you, service to humanity is 10 times as much fun as serving yourself. No matter how much you give away, and no matter how much you get in return, it feels better. O Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and negligence. We seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice us with what is lawful, keep from us what is prohibited. With thy grace, make us free from want of what is beside it. Ameen.